It is time for Hold My Banner. And as promised, Casey Hudson back alongside Ante Campbell on this Thursday to continue to lighten up your NBA offseason, get into all things Celtics, more in the rumor mill, on the rumor mill, in the rumor mill, around the rumor mill, who cares? But then we're going to touch base around some other exciting news going on around the NBA. I always got to check in with my teammate. What's going on, Ante?
Not much, excited. The trade rumors are fluttering out there, and I'm just excited to talk about it. Anything Celtics, I'm all in on it.
Exactly, and I feel like we have a little bit of like an opposite to what we broke down on Tuesday. I will say the risk versus reward in the conversation we're about to pop off with, much hotter. So let's get into it. Celtics lead tweeted a true or false, and Ante and I will feed into either true or false. Trading Domantas Sabonis is worth it for the Celtics. Now, this would be coming from a Sacramento Kings team that what I was reading is that everyone was super high on this team, what they could do about 3 years ago, and then the excitement just died. It went so stale, and then boring was maybe in every article and context you could possibly read about the Sacramento Kings, and while I feel bad feeding into that, that's what I read, Ante.
Yeah, well, they had a De'Aaron Fox. They had a DeMar DeRozan trade that, got him to Sacramento. They had Zach LaVine. They had Domantas Sabonis. When you start with those four, you sound like you got a pretty good team, at least going into last season.
Right.
And then going back in time, they had Tyrese Halliburton, which they traded away, which was,
God,
people feel their type of way about that.
Rough.
But they've had a lot of talent that's rolled in there in Sacramento. And, the best thing about talent is it's a blessing and a curse.
Right.
Because it all comes down to potential. And whether you can get up to that potential. And they never did. They never reached that potential. And so De'Aaron Fox asked for a trade, and he's now a member of the San Antonio Spurs. And we sit here today where we talked about earlier this year trading DeMar DeRozan to the Celtics, and now we're asking, hey, should Domantas Sabonis, his other teammate, maybe be a Celtic? I think all in all, if you can get a Domantas Sabonis and you would be able to keep a Derek White, you would be able to keep a Jaylen Brown, you would be able to keep a Peyton Pritchard, you'd be able to keep a Jason Tatum. That sounds like a makings of a good team to me. You know what I mean? So I'm going to say yes. This is a generic statement, right? True or false, would this be should the Boston Celtics trade? But they didn't even give us a trade to talk about. But yes, I would say yes. How do you feel?
Okay, so we'll get further into it. You always do such a great job of just like picking where my brain is going next, because it's like, what would make sense for this roster to look like for him to be an addition? Because the next thing would be, at least some of the fan reactions on the Celtics lead tweet, is basically that this would be steep to make happen.
Right.
And Tuesday, we're over here chit-chatting about a veteran minimum and just positioning that in and lifting the roster by a pinch. And now we're talking about something that's going to be a little bit more hefty in the value column. So in terms of trading for Sabonis, would it be worth it?
Yes.
Well, when you look into this guy, you're looking at more point production than what we made a pitch for when it comes to Ben Simmons on Tuesday. You're looking at somebody who probably has a winning caliber to him, just because he hasn't had the opportunity to fully dive into that positioning, that skill set, and have that team buy-in. Like, you're not going too far off the buy-in charts when it comes to joining a Boston Celtics roster. So considering the level up that he can bring to this, I say, yeah, why not? Where I'm hesitant is what I was reading in terms of what he would cost. What would this trade look like?
Right.
That is where I need to get your thoughts, because when you're talking about risk versus reward, there's no shock here. One of the pieces that could potentially be in a trading of this is Anthony Simons.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Simons versus Simmons is a hard one.
It's going to be a ball to keep doing that one. But we kind of already wrapped our brain around the fact that he's been talked about being packaged and shipped out and bringing his value to this team in different ways over and over again. So I wouldn't miss that. The additions to this potential trade, if anything happened, going to the Kings, would be Anthony Simons, Sam Hauser, Georges Niang, Kesta, and then 2 first-round picks. I don't like the 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, we can actually take a look at that. That was from Connor Toms of Bleacher Report. Yeah, he's saying just straight up, Domantas Sabonis for Anthony Simons, Sam Hauser, Georges Niang, Nimi Keita, and then 2 first-round picks. Now, when I'm looking at this trade, Casey, it does sound like a lot, right? 4 players for 1 and 2 first-round picks. if I'm the Boston Celtics, first round picks are neither here nor there to me. Especially, we talked about it all off season. I wanted them to tank. They're clearly not going to be a tanking team this year, right?
Right.
So they're keeping their own first round pick. Now, if they tank, hey, you can get in the lottery. You might be lucky, like the Dallas Mavericks, fly all the way up to 1 out of the 10 spot. You know, you might be lucky enough to do that. But since the Boston Celtics are clearly not interested in tanking,
right?
That's been
Brad's made it clear.
Brad's made it very clear that he's not interested in tanking. Those picks are going to be 20s, 30s, and what are we getting?
I see what you're saying.
What are we getting out of that? Yeah, we got Peyton Pritchard in the 20s. That was a great pick, but you can't be sure that you're always going to hit on a 20th pick to the 30s. So if I'm the Boston Celtics, 2 first-round picks over the course of a couple of years with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and all these other guys that they have on the team, whatever. Forget about it.
Right.
My focus is on the guys that you're losing. Nimi Keita, I love Neemias Keita, but he hasn't been the big that we thought he was going to be. He's still young.
Okay.
He has some things that he needs to work on. Niang, we already know how people feel about Niang, and we'll talk a little bit more about
we'll
Niang
touch on that
in a little bit. Sam Hauser has had an up and down Celtics career.
Right.
He's been a streaky shooter, and when he shoots it well, man, is he a huge add for the Celtics team. But when he's not shooting it well, it's kind of like, why is he out there?
Right.
I'm just being honest. When you look at it, it's really, for me, I'm looking at functional player for functional player. We're losing a big chunk out of Anthony Simons, but even defensively, there's some question marks about who he is.
Right.
We're getting a sure case here. We're getting a guy who we know every single night. You're getting 20, 10, and 6. Mm-hmm. He's going to rebound. He's going to facilitate. He's going to play defense. He's a borderline all-star. He's been a borderline all-star for many and many of years and has been an all-star a couple of years here.
Right.
He's been a 3-time all-star. So, Domantas Sabonis, for that, I'm in. I don't think that's too much. And honestly, if I'm the Kings, I'm saying yes.
Right.
Because now they're getting their point guard. They're a team that's looking for point guard help. They went out and got Dennis Schroeder in the offseason, added him to their team because they needed point guard depth. They needed somebody who was going to come in and be a leader and be a veteran amongst these teams. Anthony Simons could be that for them. They're getting a shooter. They've always needed extra shooting, especially pairing it along a DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
They needed guys who were going to come in and knock down shots. Then you look at Niang. He's a veteran who's been in this league, who has winning pedigree, which is why Brad likes him, which is why he's here right now. You can add that for that. And then Keita, they'll be losing a big. They'll be getting a big back. He does a lot of things that would fit their system a little bit better than what the Celtics need right now. Mm-hmm. This could be a good win for them. And then they get 2 first-round picks. If Tatum isn't healthy, if Tatum doesn't work out, you know what I mean? These could be first-round picks that end up being not lottery because they're the Celtics. They will make the playoffs.
Yes.
But right outside of it, a 16th pick, a 17th, 18th pick, which they could bank on.
Yeah, and that's a good point and picture to paint there with that one because here's the thing. Anyone who kind of jumped on the Anthony Simons train and was like, oh, we got 24 points getting in the mix, but we already discussed the fact that his defensive DNA doesn't fit the bill for the Boston Celtics. Right. You're talking about more of a complete package. You kind of threw the numbers out there already, but for Sabonis, you're talking about north of 16 points, usually sitting closer to 20.
Yeah.
The rebounds is the biggest highlight of what he brings into the mix, sitting north of 10.
Right.
But while people don't really credit him for assists and comparing him to the trade talks that we did on Tuesday to Simmons, who is known for what? Playmaking and assisting out of the wazoo.
Right.
You're talking about somebody who actually edged him career-wise when it comes to getting assists.
Right.
Almost by 1,000 more assists. So depending on the system, depending on who you're playing with, depending on what the need is, I like the versatility of what I'm reading about as Sabonis because it feels like he can kind of change his game, curtail a little bit to make sure that he is always bringing an advantage to his roster.
100%. I mean, he's been with stars throughout his whole entire career. You know, when he was at OKC in his rookie year, they didn't have much. But after that, he went to Indiana. And he played with some stars over there. He played with Victor Oladipo during the peak of his powers. He played with Miles Turner in that system over there. Then he went to Sacramento, and he's been there with De'Aaron Fox. Like I said, he's played with, Zach LaVine. He's played with DeMar DeRozan at this point. So he's played with other guys who need shots.
Right.
And so when you play with other guys that need shots and you're still averaging 20 a game, and you're facilitating, you're getting involved, and this kid can play.
Right.
He shoots about, 2 threes a game right now, which I think the Celtics would probably lean into it and probably get him closer up to 4 or 5 threes a game. But, I mean, even on the 2 that he's taking, he's 41% from 3 last year.
Yes.
And that's not even just last year. You go back to the years before that, he's always been high 30s for the last couple of years, which is tracks as a good shooter, and he makes his free throws. So, you know, his free throws could be a little bit better, but as a big man in the 70s, I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? So he shows me that he's got touch. He shoots a hook shot. He has actual post game. He's not one of those bigs that you're going to just say, hey, like, you know, set the screen and roll. You can throw it into him in the paint because, 1, he can make the hook shot, and 2, he can pass out, and he knows when to pass out, and he can get these shooters open looks, and he commands that kind of respect where you sometimes have those games where he's having 30, and you got to send 2 at him, and now we're kicking out to Pritchard. Now we're kicking out to Tatum. Now we're kicking out to Brown. Now we're kicking out to White. That's a scary sight.
Yeah.
You know, the Celtics would benefit heavily. This guy is under contract for the next 3 years. You need some assurances. Having Tatum out, you need some things that you know you're going to get.
Yeah.
I know this guy right here is a consistent guy, a consistent winner. I don't know if you've watched the Netflix series, but Starting 5, he was in the first season of Starting 5.
Okay.
And he showed his personality. He shows like he's a guy who could fit in with the Celtics team, have fun, family man, all the things that the Celtics nation embodies. He could come in, put his heart out on. You know he wants to win. I know people here love KP, and we're going to talk about, you know, somebody talking about how people here love KP in a second, but he could be that replacement.
Yeah, capability and character. He fits the bill. And something else that I liked about all of it, adding to what you said, is just the names of who he's played with along the way. And we've talked so much about, like, seeing the next step in a Jaylen Brown, and, like, you're talking about a guy who can really kind of help support and level that up if he ends up being in the mix. Honestly, I'll lean true, and I'll go with you on, like, I would love to see this happen. But I'm going to throw you for a quick little curver.
Yes.
I want to see this happen. Trade everybody that you mentioned except for Niang.
I mean, that's fine. I think Niang's in the deal because of money. Like, they have to financially make it work. He's making 43 over the next year, and he has 140 guaranteed over the next 3 years. So Niang's in that deal to make it work because it's 27 for Simons, it's 10 for Hauser, 11 for Hauser, it's 8 for Niang.
But who can we swap out so that Niang stays?
Well, there's no one. The Celtics don't have anybody else making around that kind of money. I mean, it'd be Pritchard. I'd rather have Pritchard than Niang.
Okay. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I'm just saying.
Just in case, because now we're going to pivot to some Georges Niang conversation, and if this guy created a foothold to make sure that he sticks around Boston, we're going to have to be throwing other names in the pot. So I just wanted to see what these names could potentially look like. Now, sticking with Georges Niang, moving on to this guy. We saw him hanging out with JB, celebrating, supporting the WNBA sold-out game between the Fever and the Sun. What's your initial thoughts on everything going on with Niang?
I mean, my initial thoughts were, you know, I'm like the rest of the Celtics fans. Originally, I was like, Niang, like, don't we hate this guy? You know what I'm saying? And
where are we at with this?
And now I'm like, okay, I understand what he does, and I appreciate what he does. He feels like, to me, one of those dudes that you hate when he's playing against you, but you kind of start to like a little bit more once he's on your team. So, you know, I'm excited to see what happens with Niang. I'm still not sure that he's going to be a part of this team when the season starts or even when the season closes at the end of 26. But, you know, he can be a good addition for this team. He can do a lot of things because, like Brad says, winner. He goes out there and he shows the young guys how to play without athleticism. That's a huge thing. I mean, like, the NBA is all athleticism. So when you have a guy who can come in and show you how to get things done without it, and then you teach that to a guy like Hugo González, who has the athleticism to be an elite level defender or an elite level, you know, role player in a Celtic system. I mean, Niang can only teach these guys the heights of what it's like to be an NBA player who doesn't have the gifts. So I like it.
All right, so you've softened towards him. Boston fans will eventually potentially get there, but how does Georges Niang feel about returning to Boston, or let alone the trade to Boston, because the return would be that he is a native, if that's what we call it here. Let's hear Georges Niang about being traded to Boston.
You know, I'm a Boston kid. I then get traded for Kristaps Porzingis, which you know how tough Boston fans are. So if they don't give a shit if I'm from Boston or not. They're like, you just took our unicorn and replaced it with a minivan. They're like, get the out of here. You know what I'm saying?
I see how they're like they superstars.
So
so you treat y'all the same way.
I'm like public enemy number one.
Unicorn for a minivan.
Yeah. They're like, what is this? This ain't shiny, man. This got scratches on it, man. I don't like. So now I'm kind of in the mode of like, okay, you know, obviously JT is out, but Boston has done a really good job. If you've looked at it, when
really
guys
good.
miss games, of like
really good.
Yeah, like it's their culture. It's who they are. So it's like, okay, George, now what can you do to maximize what you have to help them win games? Because you don't want to be in Boston losing. That's for sure. Like that is
the last
expectation. There's a standard. There's an expectation and standard for Boston to win.
So that's kind of how I've transitioned. My mindset is like, okay, what can I do this summer? You know, can I come in the best shape that I'm in, and also, you know, mentor and kind of teach and also learn, because they've won championships, and kind of dial that all into one and focus every day on like, how can I win the day and then win games. So it's kind of like been like a full circle moment from getting traded to Cleveland to Atlanta to then back in Boston.
But you know the
I don't know if I'd call him a minivan, but I will say
a lot of
Boston
people do.
fans will toughen you up.
Yeah.
I mean, the skin gets thick fast in New England as a whole, but you got to learn to love it. And once you do realize why they're so passionate and why they push you to be the best in every aspect, from sports culture to just New England as a whole, Niang said it, like, you got to win the day.
Right.
You got to come here and you got to really kind of buy into the culture. And it's not a hard thing to do outside of, you know, getting thicker skin.
Right.
But yeah, wouldn't call him a minivan, but Porzingis definitely a unicorn. I think fans came to terms quicker and faster about the fact that KP was likely moving on. And who are we bringing in next? And you're hearing the championship caliber and cadence to a guy like Georges Niang, which makes you feel like, okay, he can fit, and a homecoming is always going to mean something.
Right. I would call him a minivan. There's nothing wrong with a minivan, though. A minivan is
He's
reliable.
had scratches and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, is he that dented?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
well,
this
George,
is a guy.
I'm giving you more credit than that.
This
bro.
is a guy on
Can he
this-
be a sedan with a bumper dragging? Like.
Here's the thing about a minivan. One, yes, he's played on. This is his 6th NBA team in his 10-year career. So, you know.
What we call a journeyman in
He's a
NHL.
journeyman, right? Exactly. He's a journeyman. But there's nothing wrong with a minivan. A minivan is a car that gets bought by a lot of parents for a reason. It's reliable, it's dependable, you know what you're gonna get, you know what I mean? And it fits everybody and it encompasses everybody. He can be that guy for the Boston Celtics. My issue with, you know, this whole thing, because
the minivan.
Shout out to the OG show, you know, shout out to Udonis Haslem and Mike Miller. But why are you sitting across from Miami Heat players? Like, we're already trying to ingrain you into Boston Celtics culture, right? And you're from here, you're from Lawrence, so
and you're shooting it up with different NBA culture.
Not even
people.
just different. The Miami Heat Celtics rivalry is one of the best in the league. It's like Lakers Celtics, Heat Celtics. Like, those are the top rivalries.
No, you know what I get from that, though? He
What?
felt safer talking to Miami Heat people about Boston than sitting down and talking with Boston people.
But that's what I'm saying. He's got to get in here. You know what I'm saying? I seen him at Summer League. I seen him with Jaylen Brown. I see it. But you got to go to
do
the
a little
fans.
bit more.
At some points, you got to address us. And at the end of the day, when you're looking at a Miami Heat podcast and he's going on that before he's going on a Boston podcast, I'm just saying, hey, if you want to,
maybe he didn't get the invitation yet.
I'm giving it to him. Hey, Niang, if you want to come yell at me, dog, for being mean to you throughout your NBA career, which I've done, please come sit across from me and Casey. Let's chop it up. Let's talk about your experience now being a Boston Celtic, all right? And I promise once on that episode, I won't try to trade you, or at least talk about the trades that people are talking about, all right? At least
he
for
should
that
know
episode.
he's safe already, because what did I say? Trade Anthony, trade everyone else, keep Niang, figure it out.
Right.
I just think that, again, I loved what I heard in terms of like how much respect and the understanding of what it takes to be a Boston Celtic.
Right.
Having that understanding out of the way, and then you put the minivan thing together so well. I couldn't argue it too much. I'm not a minivan person. But to think that he's got so many different ways to cater to this team, and then to be able to speak into the younger players, because I almost want to go as far to say the reason the Boston Celtics also don't have to go off the deep end here is because the young talent pool shows a lot of potential. It just depends on how quickly they develop and are able to actually contribute.
100.
His experience, I think, can kind of speed that process up or encourage it or inspire it.
Hopefully.
Oh, one hopes. But then what would it mean to this guy before we get out of here? to cut to a break, to return back to Boston, being a local Boston kid. Because kind of when you go away from home, you start really pulling the cultures of every team that you have to be, a foothold on. So how can he actually not just be a Boston Celtic in terms of his capabilities and what he'll contribute, but kind of tying into the home ties?
I mean, he said it in that podcast, when you don't want to be a loser here in Boston, and that's for sure. But winning at home is a different type of feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When you win and you're in your home state, your home city, your hometown, whatever, like that is just an unbelievable feeling because you got your family around you, your friends, you got it's the little things. It'll be the little things. It'll be his high school, you know what I mean, team coming to watch him play in a Boston Celtics
Maybe old
jersey
coaches and trainers
winning.
and
Right,
stuff.
exactly. Kids who were in the same shoes that he was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, will be coming back to see him play and win and put on a Boston Celtics jersey. And that just hits home just a little bit different. So it means a lot.
Yeah, I wish I could say that I had an opportunity to have that moment, but the hometown will always go hard for you one way or another. Time to get him on a Boston podcast, though, so that we can make this make sense.
Yes,
but it does make sense, answering fan questions. Viewers, it's all about you on the other side of this quick break. Don't go anywhere. Continue to hang out with Ante and I here on Hold My Banner. All right, back at it with Hold My Banner. As teased before the break, it's time for some viewer questions, and Ante and I will answer, more Ante than me, because, well, it's your insight and analytics that we really need. But let's jump into it, because Giannis has been a name kicked around quite a bit, as if like the realistic approach to this is right within reach. I don't think so, y'all, but some fans still do. At Huckleberry12 on the Celtics offseason said, just tank unless you can get Giannis. Make it make sense.
I think we're past this Huckleberry 12. I thought we were. Giannis says that he doesn't want to go anywhere. At least it sounds like he's going to stay in Milwaukee. Brad has told us many and many a times that the Celtics plan on keeping their winning tradition and winning. Look, I'm with you, though. I'm with you. I'm selfish, though. Friend of the program, AJ Domantas. I would love to see him in a Boston Celtic jersey. We're talking about hometowns and people from Lawrence and whatever. Get the kid from Brockton in a Celtics jersey. We wanted to do Cooper Flagg, and we dreamt about Cooper Flagg, and we keep talking about how he wants to be a Celtic. We have an opportunity to go get a Celtic. It's AJ Domantas. But you know what? We're not going to get him. So Huckleberry,
we're not going to get him.
I hear you, but it's just not going to happen, all right?
Wow. I was hoping that you were going to sell that differently, because didn't Domantas just throw out the Red Sox?
Yeah, the first pitch.
A week ago or so. And I was like, wow, Brockton, I can pronounce the name of the town that he's from here. Everyone seems so high on this kid. Make him a Boston Celtic. So. Who knows? My manifestation doesn't work all that well. All right, back to the Ben Simmons conversation. The only reason I don't want Simmons here is because I'm not doing the Simmons-Simons thing. I'm not doing it. I refuse. At Lancey, on the possibility of Ben Simmons joining the Celtics, honestly thought Simmons looked okay when coming on for the Clippers last season. If you're talking about value for something close to a vet minimum, I just don't know if he actually wants to play hard anymore. Still a very switchable defender who can rebound and distribute the ball well. Would he hinder the development of other players, though? That's my main issue. I like how well this was just laid out.
Yeah, I did too. Lancey, that was a very well thought out message that you sent us, and I appreciate it. That's the big thing that Casey and I talked about. What would he do with the development with the other guys around him? And, I could see minutes being an issue, where you got a lot of these young front court guys like a Shireman, like a Hugo González, like a Jordan Walsh, and yeah, they need some minutes in the NBA in order to figure out. But the thing about the NBA that we all know is true, and especially with a guy like Ben Simmons, like we talked about, is injuries.
Right.
They happen. It's an 82-game season. It's grueling. It's long. You got the NBA Cup in the middle of it that could add an extra game for certain teams.
Or an extra injury for certain players.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm in the camp of yes. It could be an issue with this logjam that they're having of guys, even Minot. I always forget to mention him. But, they might sit there and say, hey, why do we want to play a Ben Simmons if we know we're not going to be good? Let's develop these guys if we know we're not going to be a chip. 100%. But the thing about Ben Simmons is he comes in humble now.
Right.
He comes in as a guy who's shown the ability to teach young guys, to let young guys understand how he thinks the game and what he's looking for. And defensively, yes, offensively, the shot, shooting, all this other stuff, stay away from my rookies. Don't teach them how to shoot a basketball. Don't teach them about which shots to look at or which shots to not look at, because I don't want that in there. But playmaking and defense, which are two things that the Boston Celtics really harp on. Everyone talks about the shooting, but it's really having guys who can put the ball on the floor and who can play defense and rebound. That's what the Celtics really harp themselves on. The shooting is going to be the shooting, but they want to play defense and they want to be able to get the ball to shooters when they have the opportunity to do so. He can teach young guys how to do that at a high level.
Okay, so you went with a bit of a teaching angle on some of the things that he can teach him, not everything. But another angle that I want to explore here is he just doesn't seem like he wants to play hard anymore. And I separate that into two things because, one, if you're an injury-prone player, I know we talk a lot about, being a professional athlete, it's just mentally getting over these hurdles and putting it all on the line every single night. But sometimes there's some hesitancy there depending on the injury, depending on if you're actually ever working through 100% of a body again. Because certain points of your career, and you guys have made Ben Simmons sound as ancient as I am, he might, never go into a season at 80, 90%. He might be coming in at 75 all the time. So could that be a hindrance to seeing him play hard? Or my angle on it is, guys, when you're at a certain point of your career, that locker morale, that coaching, that guidance, it becomes more important, especially if you are an injury-ridden athlete. You're always trying to make sure that you're coming out and putting your best foot forward. He has had his mental health approaches and struggles. You need a proper atmosphere to revitalize, rejuvenate, and take your career to the next level. So those are the two devil advocates I'm going to throw on the table there. Is it maybe just a hesitation thing, or could this be a morale thing, and Boston Celtics could be a good answer?
Yeah, to answer that, and I don't have the answers, we would have to see how it would play out if this were to even happen.
True.
He played for Ty Lue last year, and like Lockie is saying right now, he played well. And I think that's a testament to the coach that Tyronn Lue is. And I think, we don't know if Joe Mazzulla is as good of a coach as Tyronn Lue, or if Tyronn Lue, I don't care where you think of how great of coaches those two guys are compared to each other. But I do know they share a lot of traits where they protect their players, one, which is a huge part of what they do. They always looking out for their players. They're not in the business of slandering guys, when media tries to slander them or whatever. They always look out for their best interests. And two, I just think Joe's a psycho. Like, he's just the kind of guy to get Ben Simmons to be like,
get him
play hard,
head.
do this, do that, you know what I mean? And figure out the way to push Ben's buttons to get him to do the things that he needs to do. So I'm not really worried about that because I trust Joe with that kind of development with a player.
Perfect. And I feel like you basically answered the last part of it. Would he hinder the development of the other players? That's the main issue. No, I think we know, you know your strengths as somebody who has been in leadership roles and captaincy roles, and both of us had playing, to the college level of our sports. It's like, I'm not going to teach you how to do rainbows and bicycle kicks if it's not my strong suit. I'm going to teach you what is my strong suit. I'm going to teach you how to approach the things that are not your strong suit. 100%. Because that's what I always went psycho about. If I can't do something, everybody get away from me. I'm going to figure it out. I might not be great at it, but I'm going to figure it out. And somebody else might be able to translate that differently. So who knows? Again, this is just all in the rumor meter.
Speculation.
Speculation. All right, time to talk about that dude, Hugo. Because he's popped up here and there, and of course he's going to pop up so much more. Metro Busman 8620 on Hugo's development. Ante says his basketball IQ is really high, but he gets out of position a lot, ... I'm trying to add to the dramatics here. So which is it? The kid had a brutal summer league, but as you say, he's a child. In my honest opinion, he doesn't have a high basketball IQ, but what doesn't come naturally can be learned. A couple of years in Maine will do him good. I'm so proud of all the little initials that I just got right with this. So thank you, Metro. Thank you.
I love this comment from Metro, and he probably didn't even think I was going to use it, or she, who knows. Busman, I assume that it's a guy, but.
Busman.
But, either way, Metro, I hear you. Yes, I said he gets out of position, but I said he has a high IQ. the thing about it is, one, the coaches understood that he was shot. Like, his legs were shot, which is why I think his shot really started to go down the further along we got in the summer league, especially with the Celtics playing later in the week, kind of playing like a back-to-back and all this other stuff in summer league. There was a lot of basketball for them to play over the course of a week. You're not going to usually see 5 games in 1 week from an NBA
Not that
team.
close.
Not usually, right?
Yeah.
Especially for a guy who just finished his EuroLeague basketball.
Just flew over.
Yeah, like, he's got to get some time to rest. But because of that, I think he was doing a lot of things trying to cheat the game. You know what I mean? He understood what the right places were to be, but he was trying to do things where, if I'm tired, like, all right, like, I don't want to have to guard this dude for 5 seconds, so let me just try to make this lunge at the basketball. And then another guy goes by you.
He's popping the clutch.
Game 1 and 2, he did a lot of great things. It was really those games 2, 3, 4, 5, where, we were looking at Hugo and we were like, okay, these are the bumps. These are the things where he, showing his age. I agree. I do think he should spend some time in Maine. I think I said that in the last episode.
Yeah, you
like,
did.
hey, like, he should spend some time in Maine. I don't think it's going to be a couple of years, because I do think this kid is going to be ready to help Tatum at the end of next season when Tatum does come back. It's not going to be perfect, but I think he's going to be ready. So you just give it some time, Metro. Let's continue to watch. Let's see him get some things under his system, learning a new system, learning what the Celtics want to do, how they want to attack things. In just a couple of weeks, a new, coach in the system who's teaching them some new things. Give him some time with Joe, and he'll figure it out.
Lovely. I'm going to add my 2 cents to this.
Okay.
And you can let me know, thumbs up or get off your stage.
Yeah.
When it comes to lumping in any sort of IQ for a sport, and then adding he's constantly out of position, how can you basically put 1 for 2? I'm going to tell you how. It doesn't change his IQ, because we're also talking about what you learn and develop and the pace. Highlight, underline, bold the word pace of the EuroLeague, and then what's translatable to coming over and trying to find that NBA level and structure and translation.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you don't have the IQ.
Yeah.
As somebody who's always been more of an analytical player, when I always had to change teams, or like I played up a couple years sometimes, their pace was different. So getting their patterns, figuring out how to still be a player that can anticipate the movement of my opponents. It took me a couple games, but at that point, I knew the drawing board that I had to go back to from an IQ perspective to say, okay, this is how I match their pace. If I'm not as fast, this is how I disrupt them. So you can still have the IQ and the analytics to be a great player, but again, you got to look at the different systems in which of where he's coming from, what he's getting acclimated to, and then what you said. You're coming here, you're the draft pick for the Boston Celtics, you're going to do too much sometimes. Yeah, because you're going to try to quiet everything else that's going on, or all the whispers that you just flew over with before you even had a chance to show what you got. So I will stand by the fact that I think he still continues to show basketball IQ. I think it's just something to where after a couple more games, you can challenge that in terms of how does he correct those mistakes. Because that's the biggest part of IQ. Sometimes it's the situational aspect of it.
Yeah, and he played a lot of minutes. We were talking about how he was playing not that many minutes in the EuroLeague to go into playing a lot of minutes for the Celtics Summer League team, which he'll not be doing with the Boston Celtics over this year. You know what I mean? He'll be playing minutes, but he's not going to be playing 25 minutes. Consistently. Or 30 minutes or whatever he was playing in Summer League. I don't see that happening for him with the Boston Celtics. This year. The other thing that I want to say is, Metro, this kid. I have to trust everybody that I'm, hearing from. I'm not even just trusting my own eyes or what I know about this kid. I'm trusting my sources. You know what I mean? I'm trusting guys that have played with him. I've trusted guys that have played against him. I'm trusting what I hear from executives that have been around him, coaches that have coached him. You know what I mean? Hearing what Brad is saying about him. If they're all saying the same thing and saying, hey, this kid has a really good IQ for a 19-year-old, then...
Oh, my gosh, and then he's 19.
Right. Then he's got a good IQ for a 19-year-old.
Yeah, it's like diapers for NBA. These ages, they really catch up to you. But yeah, great stuff, great way to lay everything out, and I'm glad that you asked the question, Metro. Let us know your thoughts, again, in terms of, can you still kind of groom the IQ of a player while getting acclimated to a new system and all of the other goods that were broken down so well by Ante. We're going to hit it for another quick break, but then we're going to talk about a former Celtic and his new squad and colors that he will be representing. So don't go anywhere. Join us on the other side of this quick break here on Hold My Banner. Welcome back, welcome back. I teased about a former Boston Celtic. Marcus Smart was the guy, and if you're seeing this from Hoop Central, Marcus Smart is a Laker with a fire sign. Some fans might feel that fire sign.
I don't know if it's so fire.
I'm glad Ante responds so well to me. I'm like, some fans might feel that fire sign. Clearly you don't, or you feel it differently, because some people could be feeling it as frustration, sadness, rage, anger. Others could be like, heck yeah, this dude is a Laker. Initial thoughts on this being officially official?
I think I've made it clear.
It's simple.
You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. I mean, it looks weird. It doesn't feel right. I mean, every time a Boston Celtic joins the Lakers or vice versa, it just does not feel real and it doesn't feel good. I mean, this isn't, we'll talk about it, but, I don't feel like this is the same Marcus Smart that they're getting, and if I'm the Los Angeles Lakers and I'm a fan of theirs, I'm not that excited about this offseason. And we'll see what happens. Obviously, if LeBron's going to stay around or whatever, but just him not really being interested in the team. Mm-hmm. Luka looks great. That's the one thing that I have been seeing this summer. He looks healthy and ready to go. But, when you're bringing in a Marcus Smart who looks a little washed and DeAndre Ayton who, hasn't been a winner. As you like to try to make me say, a loser.
A loser. There you go.
He hasn't been that. So, my initial reactions is, ew.
Oh, you sound like you're the puking guy on Family Guy. On that note, I will say, when you kind of look at what the target board was emulating for the Lakers and what the fits needed to be for the offseason, it feels like they've kind of fallen short in hitting the mark of what the expectations were. Lakers fans may or may not be excited. Let's hear how Marcus Smart feels about, what Celtics fans, they might feel seeing him in this Lakers jersey.
Yeah.
For an individual who experienced such great success in a Boston Celtics uniform for almost a decade, come opening night to be wearing a Los Angeles Lakers uniform, can you anticipate what those emotions will feel like?
I can try to anticipate it. I have no idea, but I could definitely tell and say that I'm expecting a lot of boos. I'm expecting a lot of hate. And it's okay. I understand it.
Here's my thought.
Yeah.
When you play for like East Coast royalty,
Yep.
I don't think, and then say this is like towards the end of his career, right? Mm-hmm. This feels gross because of that. Like, you don't go coast to coast in terms of like royalty. If he was playing for anyone else on the West Coast, it'd kind of be like, okay, whatever, he's looking for second chance you.
Right.
But like I don't like it.
I mean, yeah, I don't like it. It doesn't mean that I don't think that I disagree with him wholeheartedly.
You don't think they're going to boo him?
I do not. I think, like, one, there's been a lot of degrees of separation. Two, they traded him and won a championship. So, like, it's almost Boston Celtics fans were, like, thanking him because he helped set the groundwork to get something done, to get a trade that ended up becoming a Drew Holiday. You know what I mean? So I think Boston Celtics fans are going to, thank him for his time when he comes into town.
Wearing those colors.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't play well.
Oh,
Which is the point that I'm bringing up. Like, I don't think that he's going to be Marcus Smart for the Celtics. I don't think he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year, playing 75 games.
All right, so let's get into that. Let's get into that. Yeah. The off-season targets, the off-season needs that were put on a board and said that the Lakers were going to go after. First and foremost, it was a more defensive-minded forward. Does Marcus Forward fit the bill? Does Marcus Smart fit this defensive-minded forward bill?
Well, he didn't play. Like, I haven't seen him play in years. You know what I'm saying? Like, ever since he's been outside of a Boston Celtics jersey, he's had the injury bug, you know? And the Los Angeles Lakers have had issues with that too. LeBron's had the injury bug since he's been there.
True.
You know what I mean? Luka Doncic is, whatever. He's been injured the last couple of years or whatever.
He said or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Vanderbilt missed a bunch of time for them last year. Dorian Finney-Smith, missed time. Like, they've had consistent history of their wings and forwards missing time over the last couple of years, even when you go back to obviously the Anthony Davis days. And he was more healthy towards the end of his Lakers tenure, but at the beginning of it, it wasn't so pretty. So you know, the Lakers have always had guys that have been injured, so I don't trust Marcus Smart to stay healthy in a Lakers jersey. I don't even know if we'll get, you know, they only play twice a year. I don't even know if we get Marcus Smart playing in TD Garden. We didn't even get it when he was with the Grizzlies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they, once again, because they only play twice a year, and every time I saw Marcus Smart into the building, it was him waving from the sideline, wearing a hoodie like me, chilling out, you know? So I feel like he's going to get respect because Boston Celtics fans they feel good. They won.
Right.
He left, he fell off, and they ended up winning the championship. What more could you ask for?
Right. Well, okay, so let's lean on that a little bit more. What more could you ask for? Lakers are going to be asking for quite a bit. So we're not sure if he fits the bill because health has been a bit of an issue.
Yep.
We mentioned if he can help out defensively in any sort of scope, but he's got to be able to be on the court. Something else, they needed to address their defensive capabilities on the perimeter. They needed consistent and reliable players. I think that you basically just spoke to that.
Yeah.
And then someone broke down it as far to say, they need a player that's better on anticipating their opponents, anticipating what's coming next, finding ways to make their opponents uncomfortable because they're already one step in thought process ahead. Is there an IQ that Marcus Smart can bring to this, regardless of his time on the court?
100%.
Okay.
120%. Marcus Smart is the anticipation guy in the NBA. I mean, I was learning from Marcus Smart in my early years, listening to him talk when I was playing college ball and all that other stuff on how to anticipate steals, how to anticipate when the ball handler is doing certain things, when to go for steals, and I wasn't even on his team. So, like, imagine, being on his team and the things that he can learn. Like I said, this is a guy who won Defensive Player of the Year. Right. So you're talking about teaching and doing things like that? Heck yeah, he can teach guys. He can teach guys. Him and Bron teaching dudes how to play defense is going to be a high-level class. I mean, that's defense one-on-one. I wouldn't even say one-on-one. That's AP defense. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better be locked in when you're in on that defensive course because, man, they're going to be talking about some terms that you might not know, and you might have to ask them a couple times, like, hey, what does that mean?
Right.
What you mean we're going to block this ball screen? What is that? We're icing the ball. What does that mean? I mean, every NBA player knows what those terms are. But, you know what I'm saying?
To the degree of which these dudes are going to be able to break it down.
So,
yeah, for sure.
From that standpoint, for sure. But if you're talking about availability and playing defense and doing all that stuff, like, when he's on the floor, yeah. But we're talking about what if Hugo González is beat up and how he's going to be cheating, and Ben Simmons if he's hurt and how he's not going to be given all this. This dude played 20 games 2 seasons ago in his first season away from Boston Celtics and 34 last year, and they were not pretty on offense, which hindered his ability to be on the court defensively because this is a league where if you aren't good on both ends, at least good, right. I'm not saying you have to be great. The great ones are the elite guys.
Sturdy.
They're the all-stars. You have to be at least decent on both sides of the floor in order to make your team a contender. And if he's not going to be a good addition for their offensive game, it's going to be a struggle for him to find minutes on this Los Angeles Lakers team.
Yeah, good point. And putting it in perspective, honestly, the year that he had his biggest flex, 2023-24, with the Grizzlies, you're sitting at about a little north of 9 points, or 14 points, excuse me. But the biggest question in terms of where he's at in his career, clearly somebody who has a lot of capabilities, but we don't know because we haven't seen him fully healthy. Yeah. Maybe sometimes from a teaching perspective, that could be a revitalizer, that can inspire you, that can wake something up yet again. Health has to be on your side. But could playing with the Lakers kind of revamp his career or revamp him as a player or bring him back to life so we can see the numbers and the skill set that we saw a couple years ago?
I hope so. We spent this whole episode talking about Boston media, and Boston media is bad. It is. It really is. It's one of the toughest places to be, not playing well. I mean, Niang talked about it,
Yeah.
One of the toughest places. You want to talk about the toughest. It's not only just being in Los Angeles, it's playing alongside LeBron James. I mean, you get blamed for every missed dribble, every missed shot, every time you think about a miss that you had. People who are LeBron fans will let you hear about it because you're hurting his legacy and this and this and that, and he doesn't have help.
Oh, my gosh, it all goes back to LeBron.
I don't want to hear any of that crying, but Marcus Smart is going to hear it. Hopefully, he's ready to deal with it because it's a different level. It's Boston level, but it's It's just a little, if Boston is 10, this is turned up to 11.
Wow. Well, thankfully he found some foundation here with all of that. To further add to the Lakers conversation and what Marcus Smart could potentially bring to LA. Yeah. The Lakers currently sit at 17-1 odds to win next year's NBA Finals.
17-1. Okay.
Yeah. Or 10-1 to win Western Conference. Which of these feel more realistic, if either of them feel realistic?
I mean, obviously, Western Conference feels more realistic because you just got to get there and win. You know
right.
what I mean?
But you're talking about asking for a healthy roster. You're talking about seeing what this team looks like next year. We're talking about them softly but barely hitting their off-season targets. There's still time, though. I won't be that dramatic.
Look. Like I always tell Travis when he makes a dumb bet, just if y'all are going to bet on that, just hand me the money. I mean, my DMs are open. You just slide me a couple dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Venmo or Zelle.
Whatever the $10 that you were going to throw on that bet, just throw it at me, all right? That'll be lunch for me tomorrow, all right? I appreciate it.
I'd rather contribute to your lunch than any of this stuff, and I won't be betting on anyone on the West Coast because I'm a loyal East Coast gal. But we'll see whose loyalty will be tested. We got to talk some Mavericks and rookie Cooper Flagg. Is he considered a West Coast boy now?
He
Dallas
is at this
West?
point, yeah.
Yeah.
That's as West as it.
That's wild. But regardless, you can't not choose Cooper Flagg and root for Cooper Flagg one way or another. So we'll start that conversation on the other side of this last quick break. Back at it with Hold My Banner. As the NBA tweeted, ready for the bright lights at Cooper Flagg. He looks sick, not gonna lie. And all of the hype that is revolved around this guy.
Do us like that, man?
Why what?
Why you gotta do us like that? Like, why you gotta do the Celtics fans, like
Sorry, he does.
He's supposed to be in green, but go ahead, keep talking.
He is. He should be in green. I just talked about this East Coast, West Coast thing and got my geography lesson on the fact that he is on the West Coast. I don't know why Dallas floats in the middle. Yeah, that's my problem. I think of, South, whatever. What's more important is Cooper Flagg and his big dog, that dog mentality that this kid is, because enough is not enough and good is not good enough. And I just love that looking at his summer league numbers, looking at what he produced, looking at the tweets and the hype that went around him, he still felt like he could have done more.
Right.
That's wild, in my opinion. He averaged 20.5 points and 5.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and then a couple steals in the mix there. We know the many things that were characterized as to his game and why it was kind of a steal for the Mavericks to end up getting a player of this caliber. But what did you make of Summer League and Cooper Flagg and all of the hype? Is it still hype?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's definitely not hype at this point. I think at this point you have to respect this kid's game. Respect her game. But
thank you.
You got to respect this kid's game. I mean, he came out in that first game and he shot poorly. And he came out and said, man, I think this was the worst game of my life.
Yep.
And then he get dropped 31 in the next game. Like, he's everything that was promised to us so far. And I don't want to get into the, hype, and I don't think he's going to be averaging 25 a game or anything like that as a rookie. But, I mean, I think this kid is going to come in and he's going to be just consistent. I think you're going to get 16 points a game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists maybe, especially with Kyrie being out, for an extended period of time to start the season.
Injuries.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for him to do some secondary ball handling role behind the D'Angelo Russell. He spent some time being a primary ball handler in the summer league. So they were clearly working on those things. And then AD is a good facilitator as well. You can't be sure if he's going to stay healthy and be healthy for the Dallas Mavericks. So they're sitting there looking and they're saying, hey, man, if these dudes go down, we're going to just lean on Coop because he's shown the ability to be consistent. He only sat out like a game, I think, in college at Duke, but he was there in every game. He played well, played with his hard hat, and gave you the things that you saw in Summer League, and he just got more time and more spacing to do it in the NBA game. So I'm excited for this kid, Cooper Flagg. Shout out to Meg.
Yeah, he's going to continue to have national fans, that's for sure. You mentioned basically the reliability, the consistency. He checks a lot of boxes, and then you say primary ball handler.
Yes.
Now, how is this going to continue to translate for his career with the Mavericks and the expectations that are already on his shoulders before he even fully gets into a regular season?
Yeah, I mean, he continues to track as a guy who can be on ball and play off ball. It's just one of those things. It's going to be a mixture. He's going to play some off ball, traditional wing, and he's going to be some point forward minutes. And the thing that's going to do is just make him versatile. You're not going to know how to stop him or attack him, because when he's on the ball, he's going to be dangerous when he gets a couple of years down the road. And then when he's off the ball, you're going to have to worry about boxing him out, watching him on back cuts, watching him set screens. He's going to be able to do a little bit of everything, and that's what's going to, get his fans super excited. So Dallas is lucky, and hopefully we can swing him to come here to Boston in the future.
Maybe a trade deal down the line.
Yeah.
Sticking with 2025-26 for 2.7 seconds. Will he make an immediate impact with the Mavericks?
100%. I mean, this is a team that, if they can stay healthy, which is going to be the thing that I'm going to say about every NBA team, especially these teams in the West that are contenders, if he can stay healthy and they can stay healthy, this Dallas Mavericks team could be a team that we're looking at in the NBA Finals like we did a couple of years ago. It could be. I know that, I put that ceiling on a lot of teams, but that's where we're at. If you can stay healthy and you got talent, you could be there.
Yeah, and I think just because of the variation of how many games and leagues are changing, bodies have to be put through so much more, and that means the recovery comes in harder, and how the expectancy of how long you can last in a season, it's changed quite a bit because we have to put health as a context on everything. But we'll see you guys next week. We don't know who we'll be talking about in the rumor mill. We don't know what names are going to be tied to the Boston Celtics. We have a whole weekend to figure it out. But make sure you guys leave comments, because we will address them. The best part about all things here at NESN is that we get a chance to interact and talk with you guys, the fans. Make sure we make you guys a part of the shows. Hold My Banner Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. live here on NESN Nation. So until next week, everyone, have a fantastic weekend.
See ya.